This is lesson 4 from Unit 1. We're going to be talking about properties of numbers. And this is a good section. You notice there's no calculator over here on the side like we normally have. This is a lesson just talking about different types of properties of numbers, things that we can and cannot do with numbers. It's on every single intro algebra test you will see in college. So we're going to put it here. It's not a lot of mathematical operation, but it is some making sense of mathematics. So if we just take a look at these first couple properties, distributive we'll start with. Distributive property, you probably have seen this with FOIL method or factoring, but it means we can take something like 2 times x plus 1, and what you're allowed to do is distribute or multiply the 2 by the x and then the 2 by the 1 as well and get to 2x plus 2. Commutative property, another way to remember this is the CO, which means we can change the order, right? For CO, change the order. It just means we can change the order. What does that mean? Well, isn't 2 times 3 equal to 6? Isn't 3 times 2 equal to 6? It doesn't matter what order we multiply in, it will give you the same thing. Same goes with addition. If we do 2 plus 3, we get 5. If we change the order, 3 plus 2, we will also get 5. It's kind of some obvious property, but it's something that needs to be written down, needs to be known again. Commutative property means we just change the order. Associative property means it doesn't really, we can add to this. We can add a third term to this. And as long as we group them the correct, any way that we want, we really just means we can group them any way. So let's say we have 2 plus 3 plus 5. Well, we could group the 2 and the 3 and get 5 plus 5 equals 10. The other thing we could do if we had 2 plus 3 plus 5 is we could group the 3 and the 5 and get 2 plus 8 equals 10. And that's all associative property means, that we're allowed to group them any way we choose. Now, zero property is something we're going to use a lot more later on in the unit, but basically as simple as any number multiplied by 0 gives you 0. So if we have 12 times 0, we give you 0. Inverse property. What is an additive inverse? The number plus its opposite. So we talk about additive inverse. We have opposites of numbers. So the opposite of, say, 10 is negative 10. And when we add them, they cancel each other out to get 0. Kind of looks like a smiley face there. Let's switch that up. But it gives you 0. So if you take a number, add its opposite, you will get 0. Same thing as far as multiplicative inverse. It's a number and this, so this here we call the opposite when we negate. This here, if you remember, is called the reciprocal. So if we take a number, multiply by its reciprocal, we will get to 1. So for example, if we take 4 thirds, multiply by the reciprocal 3/4, we get 1. It's a property we use quite a bit, especially later on in the course we deal with algebra. Now this right here, all that means is if you take a look, this doesn't work with 0. The reason why it doesn't work with 0, a number of ways. One, anything times 0, so if this is 0, anything times 0 is equal to 0, so we're not going to get to 1. The second thing is if you take 1 divided by 0, if you try to do 0 times 1 over 0, well, this right here, you cannot divide by 0. That's undefined. So that's 2 reasons why we can't have the multiplicative inverse for a equals 0. Every other number has a multiplicative inverse except 0. And the last are just identities. When you look at an identity, what it basically says is take a number for addition, add nothing to it, you get that same number back. We call that an identity. The reason we call it identity is to get back to the identical number that you started with. Multiplication, so the additive identity is 0. The multiplication identity is going to be 1. Because again, if we multiply anything by 1, we get the number itself. In the additive identity, we add 0, we get back to the number itself. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of what these properties are, and good luck on your practice.